Welcome to Ask An Innovator. All right, super fired up today. This is a really big day for me. This gentleman to my left, in so many ways, has touched my life. He actually inspired me when I was probably about 19, 20 years old. He taught me the value of morning routine. The morning routine, what you do in the morning, is so fundamental to success throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. Kerry Timko has a dossier. You can't see it, but I rarely ever have my phone on set here. He has a resume. I can't start to tell you about accolades. I don't even know where to start. Let me rhyme off a few here, okay? This is the longest intro I've ever done. Let me rhyme off a few. Okay, HBPE, Honors Bachelor Phys Ed, Tactical Fit Diploma, Exercise Physiology, Strength and Conditioning Specialist Certified, CST Circular Strength Training Coach, AFS Applied Functional Science Certified, FMS Level 2 Functional Movement Screen, USA Weightlifting, goes and goes and goes and goes. NFL athletes, NHL athletes. Am I missing anything? Quite a bit, actually.
Fair enough.
I'm missing quite a bit.
Yeah.
Kerry is the best. I would go as far as saying that Kerry is the best in the country, one of the best in the continent in terms of health, nutrition, sports, fitness. Am I missing things?
That's good.
I'm probably sure. I'm probably sure I am.
I can't brag about myself more than you just did. So thank you.
I have been touched by this gentleman and inspired my entire life. So
nice.
Here we are. So after all of that, and we're gonna dive really deep into some of these topics.
Okay.
The question that I warned you about, Thunder Bay. Here we are in Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
You could be working anywhere in the world, probably with any sports team, formally with any university institution, in terms of coaching, personal development, sports nutrition, and you're here in Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Why Thunder Bay?
I like Thunder Bay in a lot of reasons. I was born here. I got my start here. I loved the outdoors, steelhead fishing. I like the outdoors, taking fitness and health outside. Mm-hmm. I think getting outdoors in nature, right? We have a lot to offer. All the 4 different seasons. You know, you can find something active to do in every season.
Yeah,
right?
it's amazing.
Snowshoeing through the winter.
Yeah.
Hiking, biking, you know, kayaking, everything, fishing. So we got it all here basically, right? So that's one of the reasons why I've stayed here for such a long time.
I am bubbling over with questions to ask you just on that alone, and I'm going to get to them, but I have to ask the second question first, which is Thunder Bay, glass half empty, glass half full. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Are we going in the right direction? Are we positive? Are we negative?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I think in some respects we are. But we have to be, I think, really careful that, you know, people, just a human behavior, we have a tendency to move like sheep. So I always say, just because many people are doing something doesn't mean it's correct, and just because few people are doing something doesn't mean it's wrong. So we really have to answer, the question is why? Why are we doing what we're doing, right? So, and I think health should always be on top of the pyramid. Health first, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could go off a lot of tangents with that, with the health first type of thing. If we're talking even athletics, we have a tendency, I think, with clubs, fitness clubs, we're always, you know, trying to get more reps, or trying to get more weight, or trying to do it faster, or trying to, you know, get more muscle, trying to lose more body fat. But if we're doing things to basically, they're going to compromise our health. Should we be doing them? So, so a lot of times you think, obviously, if we're doing steroids, we know it's not healthy. So a lot of these shows, we can go off that a little bit later, but a lot of these things are not healthy, because what we're doing is they're restricting their caloric intake, they're taking anabolic steroids, they're taking diuretics for the show, they're taking fat burners, right? So this stuff is all not health orientated.
No.
So then if that person is doing that, you got to take a step back and say, you know what, this is not healthy, and it'll affect you in the long run. When you're 20, 25, you might think you're getting away with it, but it will affect. You're messing with your hormonal system. You never mess with your hormonal system, ever. But there's a lot of pressure as, you know, with kids growing up, and they're trying to, you know, establish themselves, a lot of insecurities, this and that. And I get it. Growing up, you know, I looked at the muscle mags. I wanted to be a big muscle guy type of thing, but never ever compromise your health.
Right. I love what you were saying about the endocrine system, the hormonal system, and then we can take that a step further and talk about the emotional system, the emotional system that we are, I mean, fear in this day and age. We talked about insecurity. Very, very powerful. Man, we're diving right into it right now. Here's my I like to look at the fitness world through your lens sometimes. I often wonder, looking at, when you're in a gym and you're looking around, knowing what you know, I mean, and you know more than I would say anybody I know, that's for sure. I mean, you've tried, tested, and true. And you're looking at some of these bodybuilders.
Right.
You talked about anabolic steroids.
Right.
We talked about the dieting.
Sure.
What is the show? And they're paid nothing.
No.
They get a trophy at the end of it. How do you feel about this? I mean, fundamentally,
I
personally,
it.
professionally.
Yeah, that's a
It's
lot.
a big thing.
That's a big
right?
topic. There,
Instagram is like is dominated, and the space is growing.
You will never ever succeed or win emotionally with that. Because you'll hit a certain point. Maybe you won a show, or maybe you did well, the top 3 or whatever. You'll hit a point where, as far as winning goes, your body will not sustain that,
right.
and you're always chasing your tail because you'll never catch. So you may you look good for the show, I suppose. You're lean, you're dried out, you're all cut up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you pose, you do this and that. Now,
you tan.
Afterwards, yes, you fake tan and all this stuff. Yeah, dehydrated. So what happens after that? You overeat after that. You gain the weight back within a couple months. I know guys that lost 40, 50 pounds, and they put it all back in 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't feel like they think they're supposed to look like that all year, because people, hey, way to go, you're losing weight, you're looking good, you look ready for the show, this and that. Now what happens is that you can't sustain that, but your metabolism starts to change, your hormonal system starts to change, and every time you do it, it gets harder and harder to do. And so psychologically, you're focusing so much on your look. Like, it looks, my philosophy is that if you're training for health, your look will take care of itself.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. You're gonna move better. A lot of these guys are getting stronger, but they've got, it's all linear training, most of the guys. This is how you look. They don't move well because you're training in there's basically 6 patterns the body can move in, and all their training is basically heaving patterns, linear.
Right.
So you get very locked up in your joints. They have this look in the shoulders and everything else, and they don't move well. There's no rotational patterns. There's no rolling patterns, no pitching patterns, no sway pattern.
Right.
These are the patterns the body can move in. So you have to train the body in these different patterns. So, but everybody's just focused about the look, and it's not healthy. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing a little bit of bodybuilding, some shaping exercise. I get it, but never take drugs ever. And health first. Eat well. Forget about all the shakes and all these energy bars. They're garbage. Your body is. You look at how our body evolved. We evolved eating food, not processed, engineered food, and everything comes down to the mighty dollar. We got to sell stuff, right? So you get these guys or girls, they're all jacked. Hey, I got this by, eating this. So we make associations.
Right.
And like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's, if you read his book, Education of Bodybuilder, he's even said that he's won the Mr. Olympia with and without taking supplements.
Right.
Of course, he was doing steroids for everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, Arnold was one of the worst things that ever happened to fitness and health. Everybody's, Arnold, this and that. Well, yeah, but man, you know what? He promoted himself. He did well. And don't get me wrong, he's a smart dude, very rich. But now everybody's following that.
Right.
Right. And
I love it. I love it. I could listen to you all day. You know what we just did? We just burned an entire segment, and it was just filled. It was there was more content. I call this rampant note taking. Get your pens and get your paper out, guys. Take notes on this, bullet points. Record this. Watch this. This is life stuff. We're getting deep. Kerry Timko, one of my mentors. I look up to this man so much. He's dropping some science. We're going to be right back the next episode, and we're just going to keep flowing with this knowledge. Welcome back to Ask an Innovator. Okay, Kerry Timko, the best. This is where I'm gonna go with the best. This is science dropping. This is note taking, massive note taking. We're getting into sports nutrition. We're getting into nutrition. We're getting into lifestyle. We're getting into emotion. Kerry's clearly passionate on the subject and clearly well read, tried, tested, and true. Let's get back into these sports, these fitness shows.
Right.
It's a growing category.
Yeah.
There's 25-year-olds out there, and this is something I kind of wanted to really touch on. There's a lot of podcasts, Joe Rogan.
Sure.
There's the whole podcast space, personal development space, TED Talks call it. The internet is in a lot of ways blowing up around fitness, personal development, positivity, emotional well-being, steroids.
Yeah.
Young men or women taking steroids. The vast majority, they're rampant. It's everywhere. They're widely available.
Right.
There's a 25-year-old male taking them to look good for stage after these shows. And then, especially in the US, there seems to be the 45 to 50-year-old male taking them for HRT or hormone replacement therapy.
Sure.
Is it two ends of the spectrum? Are both wrong? Is there common ground with it?
I don't really think there's a lot of common ground. I think because if you're taking it for like you say, hormone replacement therapy as you get older, there's obviously some value, and you have to talk to your physician about that for sure. But sometimes people who have been on steroids for a long time, they have to take that because their natural production shuts down. And I know this. I know some individuals who play football taking steroids, and now they can't impregnate their wives because their testosterone levels so low, not producing the sperm anymore. So their natural levels start to drop. I'll just talk briefly about some of the side effects. It's easy to go on the internet and find out all the side effects. But first off, if you talk about heart disease, and all these guys, you can go on the internet, check out, just Google bodybuilding and deaths, okay? And you will see all these champions that are dead. And these are top guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of them will be dying soon. A lot of I'm talking guys in their 30s and 40s where they should be kind of in the prime of their lives. And it's got to do with steroid usage, right? Because it increases your blood pressure. Decreases your HDLs, your good cholesterol, increases your LDLs, increases your heart rate. All these factors have to do with heart disease, right? So if you're doing this for year after year, I mean, what do you think you're doing to your heart? I mean, young kids, they have enough testosterone, believe me. The 19-year-olds, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, we were 19 once too, and you don't need any more hormone in your body.
No.
So what happens is that your own natural production starts to shut down because you don't need it anymore, right? So it's going to shut down somewhere, right? So your testicles start to shrink, okay? You start getting male pattern baldness. You start getting hair growing in different parts of your body. Also, you get there's another breakdown of the testosterone where you get more estrogen actually secreted. So you get gynecomastia. You get breast tissue basically. You know, that the only way to remove it is through surgery. So these are this is off the top. Trashing your joints. So you see these guys, these bodybuilders, and yeah, they're young and they're looking. I guess they're looking good. One dimension. You can tell a bodybuilder when you see them because they don't move well because everything's linear. They're all stiff. So as they get older, there's no movement in the T-spine. So they get very locked up. They got back issues and everything else. So just a little bit on the side, every mobile joint's followed by a stable joint. Your ankle's mobile, your knee's stable, your hips are mobile, lower back's fairly stable, T-spine mobile, shoulder girdle stable, neck mobile. So if you're all locked up and all you're doing is heaving patterns, for example, when you're weight training, bodybuilding, powerlifting, right? You're deadlifting, you're squatting, bench, right? All these big heaving patterns. So your thoracic pelvic cylinder has to brace, lock on to do these lifts. So what happens if that's how you're training mostly, you're trying to get really strong, that pelvic cylinder locks on. So you get this stiffness in your spine. Your spine's supposed to flex and move, different levels. You've only got about 8 to 10 degrees in the lower back, about 30 or so % in the T-spine. Now, if you're locked up and your T-spine is not moving, and guess what? Your lower back gets torqued. That's why guys who are golfing, you should get the movement in the shoulder and the T-spine, but if you don't have that, the lower back gets torqued. So we say, oh, it must be the lower back's problem. No, it's because you don't have the mobility in the T-spine, and the lower back's gonna try to get it because the pro told you to get the club head back, right? And you're trying to get it to get where the position's supposed to be, but your body won't allow it. So you get a compensation and you end up with an injury, with a problem. So balanced training, right? Training for health, training for mobility and stability. Some people in yoga will just slide a little bit here, but people think in yoga, I mean, yoga's got some good stuff, but there's a lot of bad stuff that's not good with yoga. Okay, yogi people out there?
Yeah.
Don't want to get phone calls. Okay, there's no power generation, right? You're static posing, right? And so you might be flexible, but flexibility is different than mobility. Flexibility is static. Mobility is moving.
Right.
And if you open up your joint, a lot of people are hypermobile and say for the elbows, maybe not lots, but people can look at the elbow joint. If you're going past the range that's supposed to be, then you've exceeded its range and now you're going to have a lax joint. We would need the joint to be tight with the muscles and the fascia to be opened up and to move. And we need power and strength in that range. So if you're sitting there and you're doing a hamstring stretch before you go for a run, you just increase the length of those cross bridges so they can't shorten and fire. So you've lost the power, and for the next half hour, you put yourself at risk of injury. So if you get more range of motion, you better be strong at that end range. That's super important. So what does bodybuilding do? All short, get the muscle pump, right?
Right.
It's all about size. It's all about the look. It's not about functionality, and you're isolating. Our bodies need to move as a unit. Like people can't do any kind of rotational stuff and timing stuff, right? They can't move well because they're all locked in. And go to the gym. You know, I hear it all the time. Oh, what are you working today? Oh, chest and shoulders, or back and legs, or I'm doing antagonist push-pull leg day today. How about the full body day today, man? Because the body, doesn't just work in isolation. But the way our minds think, we need structure, right? So it's going to be, we do, 3 sets. First set, 12, next set, 8, next set, 6, whatever. There's so many different sets. I'm just using that for example.
Sure.
And as opposed to, let's move the whole body. I talked about 6 degrees of freedom. The body should move in basically ability in 6 different planes, different patterns of movement. So if you're just heaving everything straight, do you think you're going to move well rolling or any type of a twisting motion? You're not going to be able to do this kind of stuff, right? Because you're training the body very linear in one pattern. You get overuse injuries. So you see these guys, and I got injuries too over the years. Believe me, I made a lot of mistakes training when I was younger as well. But if you're just training one pattern, if you look at one of the big major principles in conditioning, doesn't matter what, running, football, hockey, weight training, bodybuilding, whatever, is the SAID principle, specific adaptations to impose demands. Your body adapts specifically to what you do. And it also does not get better at what you don't do. So if you're doing benches all the time, right, you're doing inclines, your body is pitching forward. So very few bodybuilders can actually overhead press because everything, they're on their back and they're sitting on machines, curling and leg extensions, and the body needs to work on its feet. Once in a while you want to mess around a little bit, okay, fine, not a big deal. But we need to stand on our feet. We need balance in our feet. Most of the stuff we need to train is barefoot. There's a whole technique you can check out, barefoot training, Evidence-Based Fitness Academy. And there's a technique called short foot, because you need to activate the muscles in the feet first. Okay, the intrinsic muscles from foot to hip. That's how we get fast. When I train professional athletes, I've worked with a ton coaching the NFL, NHL, all Olympic guys, World Cup guys, Olympic boxers. We move from the ground up, okay? And if you're wearing these big foamy shoes, you're not activating the proprioceptors in your feet for balance and what have you. As we get older, by the time you're 70 years old, most people have lost 50% of the proprioception in their feet to activate the ground to balance. So we need to be utilizing, like, I'm not saying running barefoot. I'm talking about some of you could be even a static, right? Like just on the ground, barefoot. And take it outside, okay? Fitness should be outside. We get vitamin D. When you're out in the forest and you're running trails if you want, you're getting all the chemicals that are coming from the trees that expands your breathing. It helps you breathe better. You take in more air. We're focusing on stuff. When you come to a gym, I know I'm kind of jumping all around here.
I'm going to throw a commercial right now.
Yeah, sure.
And we're going to come back.
Okay.
You are fired up. This is the first. I didn't have to ask a question. I love this. We're going to be right back. He said something. Kerry said something about NFL, NHL, world class. It's all over. Something about the trees, chemicals. Mind blowing. First time mind blowing on the show. Ask an Innovator. We'll be right back. All right, Ask an Innovator. For any of you watching this, officially best segment ever. This is hardcore note-taking. Watch this segment over and over. It will change your life. So I didn't ask any questions in the last segment. This is the first for Ask an Innovator, and it's exactly why we're here. Janice just came out from the back, and she goes, Cole, I didn't hear you talk once. It was awesome. So it's awesome. So, Kerry, why? Why do the vast majority of people lifting weights, want to look like that guy? Why the drugs? What's the psychology behind it?
Well, it's like you mentioned earlier, it's just like with social media. Everybody's posting, there's like an ideal look that everybody's trying to achieve. And that becomes almost like the driving force, where sometimes you got to take a step back. And again, it all comes down to the money, right? People are making money doing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
People are making money selling product. I worked in gyms all my life.
Yeah.
And, I'm telling people to go outside. Like, there's definitely stuff you can do in the gym for sure.
Yeah.
But take your fitness outside. Getting back to the question.
I'm just going to ask you one quick question. You started out at the very beginning. The first question I asked you, why Thunder Bay?
Yeah.
And I watched the way you eat.
Yeah.
And you eat like meticulously. I mean, it's very. And I watch the way you train.
Yeah.
And you back it up. Your actions and your words are aligned. Now, you said you lived in Thunder Bay because you get to participate in the outdoors.
Yeah, sure.
And you're now talking from a pure fitness perspective. I've heard you passionately talk about the outdoors.
Yeah.
Chemicals from the trees, vitamin D.
Right.
I mean, this is brilliant stuff.
Well, it's balance too. We get we need to talk about the earthing technique. We get a lot of energy coming from there. So right now we got boots and shoes on and we're in North America. So we're not getting the activation from the ground. We need to be training, even if you're doing like static exercise or some mobility stuff, go on the ground because our feet need to be in contact with the ground. When you're on concrete, there's no vibration. We need vibration from either wood or from the grass or from the earth. So it's very important that we get that into our systems. So like I said before, it's about the health, about moving well. You said, I train very different than most people because I'm training different movement patterns. I'm training my whole body each single time. My patterns may change a little bit. I do a lot of circular strain training with clubs and Indian clubs and club bells and body weight exercises, and weight training is still good too. But here's the thing, if you have a problem, if you already have pitched shoulders or forward, now you might be strong, but you're not strong. For example, you'd be strong in the bench press, but do you have strength overhead or different positions? But if you keep adding more load to what that you may have maybe a little bit of dysfunction or maybe a kyphotic back, and you go and you're doing the exercise, even if it's the opposite muscle group, your spine is in that same position, and you are strengthening that dysfunction by adding load to it.
Right.
So you got to be really careful. If you don't have good movement, you don't add load to cement that pattern anymore.
Right.
And once again, we get back to the lost specificity. I am now making my back more rounded, and just the nature of how we live, we're sitting lots, right? We're on the phones. We're like, so we have short hip flexors, right? And everything is in here. So if I come to the gym and I'm in the office all day and I'm doing my exercise, I'm going to be a little bit better, but I'm still going to be tight in those flexors, tight in the T-spine. So we need to do the functional opposite of what your body's been doing all day long.
Right.
And just gravity and aging process. You know what, no one gets out unscathed. When you're 20, 25 years old, these bodies are great, and well, goody. Well, good. Everybody like who's active, you, me, we're all in great shape. Because we age, we got to be smarter with our training. And that's a big thing. When it comes to trainers, like I said, find someone who's educated. It's about the money, right? Facilities are making money off of these trainers.
Yeah.
They make a certain percentage.
Right.
So they're looking at the bottom line. But I'm going to break the truth here to you.
Yeah.
Very few of them are educated. They may have the greatest body and they know how to schmooze people and how to talk to you, give you eye contact. And now you form association and a friendship, right?
Right.
And they're making money.
Yeah.
Hey, if I'm going to a doctor, I want someone who's got a university education.
Sure.
Not someone, there's a lot of 2-day certifications out there. They get the little Mickey Mouse certification. Now I'm a certified trainer. Are you kidding me? W5 years ago, they had to show this woman. It's a big complaint in Toronto years ago. Anyway, so the big thing was about, same thing. Educated people were like, hey, what's going on here? We got all these couple 2-day trainers and this and that. Well, I can't remember the woman, but she was running the show. She went and took this course. She passes the course. She's on TV the next week, and she says, you know what? I'm a certified trainer. I know nothing about fitness. So you got to find educated people, make sure they've got university education, exercise sciences. That's a starting point. Then you get your proper certs and go from there.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Right.
But people are just coming out of the gate. They look good smiles and this and that. They're a dime a dozen. And but I've seen it 100 times.
Yeah.
So that's my little pet peeve out not just this city,
Fair
but other
enough.
places.
Yeah.
Because you're competing with the same person, that person in the club. And I'll help out anybody who's done their background work, who's done the science. I will help anybody. I've helped tons of trainers. And anybody that knows me personally, they'll know that if you haven't done your work, to get your university degree, then don't even look at me I'll tell you go back to school, and then I'll help you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's only fair, man.
Right.
Because you know what?
Yeah.
The public doesn't know. They don't know what they don't know. The trainer might know a little bit more than the client.
Right.
And then that client becomes all high and mighty, or the trainer. But every trainer, every group instructor's got their own little group, right? Big deal, right? But you've got to continue. You know, I was once one person once said to me at one of the conferences about who should you follow? There's lots of people out there. Follow someone who's still educating themselves.
Right.
It's a never-ending process. Health first, right? Moving well, get outside. The gym's got some good stuff too. You still need some linear patterns, you still need some heaving patterns, but there's other patterns to train in. Here's a funny story. There's a guy, we think, oh, Tai Chi. Well, great exercise, right?
Right.
Excuse me. So very mindful, right?
Right.
You're thinking about your move, your breath, your time, and it's all great stuff. But one of my clients goes to see this Tai Chi, really good guy. I'm not gonna mention his name, but older fella. And anyways, he told my client that he was walking across the street and a car came towards him. And he didn't know what to do. So he's trying to run across the road and he's kind of gimping himself because he was so used to always thinking about everything he had to do, he couldn't react.
There was no fight or flight.
Yeah, he couldn't move because he was so, what am I doing here? He's not used to responding and reacting. I know, it sounds funny, but that's how specialized he was in that, but not the reaction.
Right.
So fitness also needs to be reactive.
Right.
So when you know what I'm saying? So everything in the gym, we know what we're doing, A to B, right? We need to be in a position where we're out of balance to develop for balance, right? We're throwing, tennis is good, we're throwing a ball, it could be a frisbee, it could be a volleyball. We have to react to the situations. I teach people how to basically, some people, they get older, they get knocked over, but they can't move in time, right? We start losing that ability. So we need to work on that timing, not just straight on gym stuff. You know, some martial arts, it's all good stuff, right? The timing, some pad work, you have to react to stuff. That's part of fitness too. We said, what is fitness? Okay, we look at what? I don't know, cardio, strength, flexibility, muscular endurance, And
can I just add one more thing to that mix? And we're gonna end this last segment right now.
Okay.
You said cardio, endurance. What else did you say?
There's muscular endurance, there's
Muscle
power.
endurance, right?
There's all these things that are with fitness.
And I'll add one more thing. Passion. Passion. Wow. I got nothing else. The show's done. Could you imagine? We're gonna get Kerry back. And I think we might get Kerry back as a regular guest if he'll have us. And we'll do the 2.3.4.0 version of this. We just cracked the surface. Best episode ever.
Oh, thanks, Cole. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
Thanks, Kerry.
I appreciate it. It's a good time. Thank you.